Top morning, ladies. My name is Chaz, and welcome to the What Ifs, or not What If. It's custom cards. So, I just wanted to say What If. So, it's because I've been using it. So, this is the custom card review. In this archetype that I'm gonna go over, it's called Portal Swamps. And yes, they all are all based off of my new story that I'm gonna create. Is that let me go over the story first before I go into the archetype. So there's these two girls, Leela and Lala, or whatever their names are. I forgot their names already. So they always got picked on by a bully named Jessica. It's a custom name that I made up in this story. So but one day she just had it with both of them. And so they basically pushed them in. Like, she basically pushed both of them in to this purplish goo. And it backfired. Like, the hand, or the one of the girls that was about to fall in, grabbed her by the back of his shirt, or front, and pulls her into it. And so when all three of them fell in, their body starts to transform into different creatures. But they still have, like, their characterization. Like, they care about each other's. And all that memory stuff. So, yeah. And they fused into, like, different creatures. They even they saw a poor little monkey just jumped right into the portal. Or the goo. So, yeah. And, yeah. Basically, they aim. But then they saw a big monster that's gonna come out of the... Yeah. And so what do? They fuse their three brains. Or no. All three of their... Or two of their brain cells together to create one big brain. Yeah. So then... And their bodies fused into creating a big-armed monster with, like, red and blue eyes. So, yeah. I forgot one thing. I'm back. So, yeah. So, the first card that I will say is Portal Swamp Cyclops. So, one of the girls actually was turned into a Cyclops. Into this thing. She's a level 12 dark, 4,000 attack, 2,000 defense. Her effect is basically Ash Blossom or any hand traps. Here, let me read this. If your opponent activates a card effect, you can reveal this card from your hand, special summon it to your field. in attack mode. If you do, negate that card effect and shuffle it into the owner's deck. And that's only for like a couple of the cards that have this. So once per turn during your main phase, you can shuffle this card into the deck or from the graveyard, or shuffle one card from the graveyard, hand, or banish zone into the deck. This card gains that card's effects from your deck by this effect. It has two different things going for it. Once per turn during either player's battle phase, this card loses 1000 attack, and you take no damage from battles involving a portal monster from anywhere. If it does, skip your opponent's on its next two draw phases. If this card is in your graveyard, you can shuffle this card into the deck, look into your opponent's deck, send one card from it to the graveyard or banish zone. Yeah, it's basically you can add it. Then this one, basically, it has the gimmick thing. So, once per turn during either player's battle phase, this card loses 1000 defense. And to banish all cards from the field except Portal Swamp cards to the banish zone, and their effects are negated until this card leaves the field. And then it has the this card can bring itself back by paying 1000 life points. And if you do skip your opponent's draw phase, so it is crazy to be, oh, I special summon this monster, special summon that monster, special summon this monster, all that stuff. And then the once per turn, or so, yeah. So then this card is called Big Hands. This hand was actually from her. We'll get to her head in a minute. So the once per turn during either player's draw phase, either player yada yada. You could see it on your TV or phone. Yeah. So, and when this card says for the player that uses this effect, means that if your opponent, or if you use it on, because both players never actually need any cards in the hand. Yeah. So then, yeah. And then this one is a fusion card. I changed the name, but this is the old card text. So it was Portal Swamp Snake Fusion. Yeah. In that story that I told you about, there was these two snakes from that portal, or from that goo, that fuses them together into, yeah. And yeah, this card makes it so that your monster attacks your opponent's life points directly 3 times. So then so this one allows you to basically, I made this archetype so that it can be splashed with any other decks. This card can only be activated if your opponent declares an attack. You can pay 1,000 life points to negate that attack and end their turn. If you do, select one card from your opponent's deck and add it to your hand. If this card is in your graveyard or battlefield, you can shuffle this card into the deck. Draw 4 cards from the top of your deck. Yeah. So then, so the brain one is basically, or I also, this is the old card text thing, about power. I changed it to swamp. So or portal, swamp, brain of man. So all this effects, it requires 2 of the. It doesn't have to be simply just add level 8 and level 4. You could use that with level 12 monster. So this one is basically, I'll just cut it down to, it's basically a lockdown effect. Basically, your opponent can't do nothing during their turn. So they can't activate any card effects. They can. It's only the paying cost to activate it is by shuffling all cards from your graveyard into the deck. Is basically adding, if you wanted Exodia to be put back into your deck without having to go through extra hoops to go through. And this one allows you to basically, during the battle phase, this card loses 1,000 defense. Shuffle all cards from the field except portal swamp monster cards to the owner's decks. If this card inflicts battle up to your, or inflicts damage to your opponent's life points, your opponent must send or select 5 cards from their hand or deck to be send those cards to the battle zone. If it does, skip your opponent's battle phase. This card is broken because it's basically locking your opponent from doing anything. Can't be Ash Blossom, can't be that or that or that. Yeah. Plus, with the spell card thing, because it gives the opponent, or gives you the attacks your opponent's life points directly, it basically sends 15 cards per battle. Yeah, and then the Snake Girl, that I was telling you about, she became a reptile, and if your opponent activates a card effect, or extra, you can reveal this card from your hand to special summon it to your field in attack mode. If you do, negate that card effect and shuffle it into the deck. And once per turn during your main phase 1, you can shuffle one card, then add like and the like one of the other from its archetype to this. Yes. If this card is sent to the grave, you can pay 1,000 life points to special summon this card to the field in attack mode. Yeah. So she's basically a searcher, like for the archetype. If you shuffle one card and then you get the like any of these other cards, yeah. Plus, then this card might be busted, but I need the dual logs to check. So this one is Portal Swamp Ultimate Girly Clops. She's a level 12 Dark Warrior Fusion Effect monster with 4,000 attack, 25,000 defense. And that I forgot to mention, or this one, its level is set to 24 levels. So basically, we are looking at the level 24 monster that is pretty powerful. Must be fusion summon. If this card is special summon, you can pay 1,000 life points, negate all card effects from your opponent's shield and hand. Once per turn, if your opponent summons a monster or monsters to their field, this card loses 1,000 life points or attack points. Negate that summon, and then skip your opponent's turn. If this card is in your graveyard, you can shuffle this card into the extra deck, special summon the fusion materials from anywhere to your field in attack mode. But their attack points are set to 49,000 or 4,900 attack points. If this card inflicts damage to your opponent's life points, your opponent must discard 2 cards from the top of their decks to the graveyard. If you do, the damage is half. So basically, when it said half, it's just like someone just does like halfway through. Yeah. Now this one it gains attack from like all the other ones. And you can send this card to the graveyard. You can add 1 spell or trap card from your. And then if it does, you gain like 5,000 life points. Yada 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 yada. Yeah, because funny enough, the purple goo thing, actually, the girly girl that's in this archetype was a beautiful girl, but she heard that her boyfriend and her other boyfriend, like her ex-boyfriend, fell into the river or into that purple goo and became that. But they still love her no matter what. So that's why And then they always wanted to protect her. Sorry about that. And yeah. So this card is basically a Lord of the Swamp thing for this archetype, is because it has a if your opponent declares an attack, reveal this card from your hand. Special summon it and negate that attack and end their turn. If this card is in your graveyard or banish zone, you can shuffle this card into the deck. You can select 3 spells/trap cards from to your hand. If you do, skip your opponent's main phase 2. And then they have a field spell that makes them gain a whole bunch of attack and defense for each time they use their effects. So basically, if he uses his effect and he's on the field, and like all of them uses like their effects, basically they gain a lot of attack points. You can select one monster from your opponent's deck or graveyard or hand to be special summoned to your field in attack mode. But it gains this name of Portal Swamp. So this card made the archetype reasonable, because whoever falls into it, they became like corrupted versions. Yeah, and then the monkey hand is basically during your end phase, your opponent must select 3 cards from your deck, hand, to the banish zone. Like banish them to the banish zone. If you do, you gain life points. And this card's effects cannot be negated by card effects, or can't be sent to the graveyard or banish zone. If this card, or if you have Portal Swamp field on of the Fallen, this spell card on the field, special summon 2 swamp things. Then this one is basically supposed to be like the most broken card of this archetype. Man, I watered it down too. Yeah. So then select 2 cards and then banish them, and then it's a lot to read. So pause the video and read it. If you want to. So we moving on. Here you go. Now, this one, Happy Day. That's actually his name, Happy Day. This card might be broken because of one little small thing that I added. So I'll read it. So if this card is normal or special summon, you can select 1 card from your graveyard or banish zone or hand, shuffle it into the deck. If you do, you activate one of these effects for once per turns. Your opponent's life points are set to 100 life points. This card attacks your opponent's life points directly. That's number 2. This is number 3. You can place 2 spells, trap cards from your deck, graveyard, or banish zone, or hand to the spell and trap card zone. Number 4. You can shuffle this card from into the deck. Then draw 2 cards. So if this card is in your graveyard, you can shuffle this card into the deck. Special summon 2 portal swamp monsters from anywhere to your field in attack mode. But their attack points become double the attack points. So this card, or this one right here, the one with your opponent's life points is set to 100. That's pretty broken. You can't even do anything with like 500. Yeah, so then, yeah. And plus, if you use it to attack into your monster, and reason why I used the anime version of Winged Dragon Raw's, like, or actually real life version, sorry, to make it like make your opponent lose attack point or life points is pretty crazy. Yeah. So now the Portal Hull Swamp Fallen. So it's a counter trap. So it's fitting. This card can only be activated if your opponent declares an attack. You can shuffle 1 Portal Swamp card from the field or graveyard into the deck. Negate that card effect, or negate that card, or like attack, and end their turn. If you do, add 1 spell card from the deck or graveyard or battlefield to your hand. If this card is in your graveyard or battlefield, you can shuffle this card into the deck. Draw 3 cards from the top of your deck. So this run is basically her inside of that. Just imagine a little person right here. Right here. Imagine a little person right here. Like, now, man. Yeah. And she's rising from, or she's fallen into it. Yeah. So each card of this archetype is broken in their own way. That in modern day, if you combined it with like Pot of Greed and like every other card earns, is because this card or these cards allow you to reuse them over and over again. So instead of having like Pot of Greed in at 1, there would be like 10 Pot of Greeds going at the same time. That's why there's so many limitations on most of them. Because how broken they are. They have limitations. Except for the 1 or 2. Like this one locks down your opponent, and the other one prevents your opponent from special summon or any monsters. So yeah. And then there's like this one is basically allows you to mill your opponent's entire deck out in like end phases. So yeah. Basically 1 turn kill for it. So if you like this archetype, all these cards are on Dueling Book. And I'm still trying to figure out the rules on custom card duels on Dueling Book that I will create. Because I think I should challenge the dual logs to it, because I know that he does more of the master duel things, but that's getting tiring. And he needs to go back to the custom card reviews, because, or doing something that's spice things up instead of having custom cards or the master duels every single time. Every time I see him, he's on master duel like 24/7, so he needs some mental help. Every like on this video will get the dual logs change his mind thing. Okay? So, peace out, y'all.